There's always something about being in motion. Airports, trains, city streets, filled with people going somewhere. And somehow, in the middle of all that movement, I always find myself asking, how did I get here? Because this life, traveling across continents, chasing moments, witnessing history, once felt like something I'd watch, not something I'd live. It felt distant, almost reserved for other people. And maybe that's why, after all the places I've been, there are a few countries I just can't stop talking about. Not because they're the most popular, not even because they're the most beautiful, but because they stayed with me. They show up in my thoughts, in conversations, in those quiet moments when I'm just walking and reflecting without even realizing it. It always brings me back to France, to Paris, to the Olympics. That wasn't just a trip. It was a realization, standing there surrounded by people from all over the world, different languages, different flags, different lives, but one shared feeling. There was this energy in the air that felt almost impossible to describe. Hope, pride, unity, all existing at the same time. I remember looking around and thinking, this is bigger than me. And somehow I'm part of it. And that thought stayed with me because for so long, dreams felt like something distant, something you work toward but don't quite reach. But in that moment, I realized I wasn't chasing it anymore. I was living it. And even now, when I think back to that moment, the noise, the energy, the connection, I don't just remember what I saw. I remember who I was in that moment. Someone who finally understood that the life I once imagined was already happening. Then there's New Zealand, and everything changes. The pace, the energy, the way you breathe. There's something about being there that makes the world feel quieter, like it gently asks you to slow down, whether you're ready or not. It's not just the landscapes, though they're unforgettable. It's the feeling of space, real space, the kind that gives you room to think, to feel, to just exist, without needing to constantly move. I remember standing in places that didn't even feel real. Mountains stretching endlessly, coastlines that felt untouched, skies that seemed wider than anything I had ever seen before. There were moments driving along the coast or walking through a quiet trail where the only sound was the wind or the ocean. And it felt like time had paused, just long enough for me to catch up with myself. Exploring places like Habitan or the Waitomo Caves wasn't just about seeing something beautiful. It was about reconnecting with a sense of wonder that we lose over time. There's something surreal about stepping into spaces that feel both magical and real at the same time. And in those moments, I wasn't thinking about what was next. I wasn't planning, rushing, or trying to capture everything perfectly. I was just there, fully present, and that presence carried into everything. The way I noticed small details, the way I felt gratitude for something as simple as fresh air or silence. New Zealand didn't just give me memories, it gave me a reset, a reminder that sometimes the most meaningful experiences are the ones where you allow yourself to slow down, slow enough to actually feel them. And what stayed with me even after leaving was how that feeling didn't just disappear. It followed me home in subtle ways, in choosing to pause instead of rush, in noticing the small things I used to overlook, in allowing moments to exist without needing to turn them into something bigger. New Zealand didn't just show me a different place in the world. It showed me a different pace for life, one that I'm still learning carry with me even when everything else starts moving fast again. In Japan, I learned something different. I learned how to observe, really observe. Because in places like Tokyo, you're surrounded by constant movement. Thousands of people, all heading somewhere, all part of this unspoken rhythm. And yet, there's this deep sense of respect woven into everything. People move with intention. There's awareness in how space is shared, and how silence is respected, even in crowded places. It's subtle, but it's powerful. I remember standing at a crossing, watching waves of people move in, perfect timing, and realizing how connected everything felt without anyone needing to say a word. And then just steps away, everything shifts. You walk into a temple and suddenly there's silence, stillness, reflection. The air feels different. The pace slows. And in that shift, you become more aware of yourself, your thoughts, your presence, your energy. What stayed with me most was that balance, the ability to exist in both worlds, to be part of something fast moving and dynamic while still holding onto a sense of calm and intention. Japan made me more mindful, not just while traveling, but in everyday life. It made me think about how I move through spaces, how I interact with people, how often I rush without realizing it. It showed me that there's a different way to live, one that values presence just as much as progress. And even in the smallest interactions, ordering food, navigating train stations, simply watching how people take care of shared spaces, I started to notice a quiet pride in doing things well, in being considerate, in contributing to something larger than yourself without needing recognition. That stayed with me. It challenged me in a subtle way to be better, to be more aware, to move through life with a little more intention and a little more respect for the world around me. And then there was moving between cities, stepping onto the Shinkansen bullet train. There's something almost symbolic about it. The precision, the speed, the quiet efficiency. It felt like more than just transportation. Watching the landscape blur past the window, I had this sense of transition, not just geographically, but internally. Like I was moving between versions of myself, just as much as I was moving between destinations. Arriving at Osaka, everything felt alive in a different way. The energy was louder, more expressive, more playful. Street food, bright lights, people laughing openly, it felt human, approachable, real. And yet, even in that energy, there was still that same underlying respect, that same rhythm that kept everything flowing. It reminded me that there isn't just one way to experience life, that joy, spontaneity, and structure can all exist together. Then Kyoto shifted everything again, slower, quieter, more introspective. Walking through temples, narrow streets, and spaces that have existed for centuries, I felt connected to something deeper, something that didn't need to be explained or rushed. It made me reflect not just on where I was, but on time itself. That how quickly we moved through it, and how rarely we stopped to truly feel it. What stayed with me was the balance. In the end, Japan stayed with me not just for what I saw, but for how it made me feel aware, present, intentional. It showed me that life doesn't have to be rushed to be meaningful, and that even in the middle of movement, there's always space for stillness, and that's something I've carried with me ever since. Greece felt different again, softer, almost timeless, like stepping into a moment that doesn't need to be rushed or defined. The first thing you notice is the beauty, the white buildings, the blue water, the light that seems to hit everything just right. But what stays with you is something deeper. It's the feeling of ease. Sitting there, watching the sunset without needing to capture it, or move on to the next thing. Just being there, fully in that moment. There's a simplicity to it that feels grounding. It reminded me that not every meaningful moment has to be big or dramatic. Sometimes it's the quiet ones, the ones where nothing is really happening, that stay with you the longest. Greece taught me how to slow down emotionally, not just physically. There's something about Santorini that feels almost unreal, like you've stepped into a place that exists somewhere between memory and dream. The way the whitewashed buildings catch the light, the deep blue stretching endlessly beyond the cliffs, the quiet hum of life moving without urgency. It all creates this feeling that time has softened. And then there are the sunsets, not just something you watch, but something you experience. Everything slows, people gather, and for a few moments, nothing else matters except being right there, fully present. What makes Santorini stay with you isn't just its beauty, it's the feeling it leaves behind, a sense of calm, of simplicity, of realizing that life doesn't always need to be filled to be meaningful. It's in those quiet pauses, those still moments, where something deeper settles in. You don't just remember Santorini, you carry it with you. And that's what Greece gave me overall. A reminder that not everything has to move fast to matter. That there's beauty in slowing down, in feeling the moment as it is without needing more. Sometimes that's exactly what we need to find our way back to ourselves. And then there's Italy and Spain. Places where life is felt out loud, where everything seems to carry a little more energy, a little more emotion. In Italy, it's the way history surrounds you. Every street, every building, every corner has a story. And somehow, even the simplest moments, sitting down for a meal, walking through a city, feel significant. Meals aren't rushed. Conversations aren't cut short. There's an appreciation for time, for connection, for being present with people. And when I think about Italy, it's the monuments that stay with me, the way places like the Colosseum, the Trevi Fountain, and the Leaning Tower of Pisa don't just stand as landmarks, but as reminders of time, history, and everything that came before us. Standing in front of them, feel both small and connected, like you're part of a much bigger story. And maybe that's what Italy leaves behind, a quiet reminder that the past isn't gone. It's still shaping how we experience the present. And then in Spain, there's this vibrancy that's impossible to ignore. The laughter, the music, the movement, it feels alive. Nights stretch longer, conversations go deeper, and there's this sense that life doesn't have to follow strict rules to be meaningful. Together, these places reminded me that life isn't meant to be rushed or reduced to a checklist. It's meant to be experienced, fully, deeply, without constantly looking ahead to what's next. And when I step back and look at it all, the movement of France, the stillness of New Zealand, the awareness of Japan, the calm of Greece, and the energy of Italy and Spain, I start to understand why these places stay with me. They met me at different points in my life, reflecting different versions of who I was and who I was becoming. Each one gave me something I didn't even know I was looking for: perspective, gratitude, curiosity, connection. Because travel doesn't change where you go, it changes how you see everything after. The way you notice people, the way you value time, the way you understand your own life. These places don't leave me, they live in me. So if there's somewhere calling you, something you keep thinking about in quiet moments, listen to that. It might not just be a destination, it might be something that shifts your perspective and stays with you long after you've left. Peace and blessings. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more.